Hello, this is Jace Fugate with another session of the Introduction to the Go Programming Language course. So today we're going to be talking about if statements. What an if statement is a way to control the flow of your program. It allows you to tell the program whether or not you want a block of code to run or if you want it to not run. It's one of the couple control flows that Go has. And so you have here the basic syntax of a if statement. You have if space a condition that can evaluate into a Boolean. We're going to be doing Booleans here, so true and false. And then you have parentheses, some code inside the parentheses. And so I'm going to go ahead and save this, and you're going to notice that my code editor actually gets rid of those outside parentheses. So something interesting with Go is that the parentheses, the outside set of parentheses, is not required in an if statement. This is different than in some languages like JavaScript, where you have to wrap the condition with an outside set of parentheses. In Go, you don't have to do that. Parentheses can still be used to control the order of evaluation, but again, you don't need any on the outside. And so let's go ahead and run this. You'll notice that 25 is a multiple of 5. So this went ahead and this printed out. Because if you take the modulus of 25, and that would be you divide 25 by 5 and then you take the remainder. Well, the remainder of this does equal 0. If I were to change this to 26, this would evaluate to 1, which is not equal to 0. So we'll go ahead and run that. You notice that nothing prints out this time. We'll go ahead and jump to another example here. So again, as we said, the parentheses are optional. You don't need any parentheses at all. We'll go ahead and run this, and it says -1, or that -1 is negative. And that's true. -1 is less than 0. I mean, this, when it evaluates, is the same thing as if I were to just straight up put in true. If I were to switch this around, it would evaluate to false, and it would not run. Because now I'm saying that -1 is greater than 0. That is not true. And so it skips this whole code block. And you can create very complex evaluations. And you can use order of operations if you want. So and then you could run this. We can find out if that's true or false. There we go. I'm going to go and clean this up. And then you also have and or operators. You may remember these when we were going over Booleans in one of the previous sessions. And let's go and run this. And this will come out as true. I'm going to clear this and bring this up to the top. Comes out as true, and it prints out my age is between 17 and 30. So the AND operator, what it does is it looks at the evaluation on the front and it looks at the evaluation on the back. And if both of these evaluate to true, then the whole of it evaluates to true. And then this whole code block will run. You can also use an OR operator. And when we run this, it will give us the same output. And this is just saying, hey, if this condition evaluates to true or this condition evaluates to true, then all of it is true. And it will print out the code, or it will run the code block. Something that's interesting about the AND operator is that it will actually shortcut, as it says here on this comment above, it will actually shortcut if it finds out that the first one is false. So I'm going to just change this so we don't get confused. And so if we change this to a less than or equal to, this will evaluate to false because 21 is not less than or equal to 17, but this is still true. We'll go ahead and run that. You notice nothing happens. And what Go actually did here is it didn't evaluate this and then evaluate this. It actually just said, well, this is false, and then, oh, stop, AND operator. That means both of these have to be true, so I'm just going to bail out early and just continue through. It's just nice to know when you are doing more complex conditionals in your if statements, to know that if this evaluates to false, this won't even run. Again, if we were to use an OR operator, this would actually print out. I'm going to change this and say OR. This would print out because, well, this is false, but this is true. And for this whole entire statement to be true, only one side has to be true. Both can be true or one can be true. Either way, OR is happy. Let's go ahead and move on to an interesting syntax that Go has. This is the short statement, or what you call a short statement. And so what it actually does here is it has two parts. It has an initialization of a variable, and then it actually has the condition that will evaluate to either true or false. And this is the same as if we were to do this right here. And then we just got rid of this initialization. The only difference is it's instead of 2 lines, it's only 1 line. That is nice. You're saving on lines of code. And as well, and this is something we'll talk about more in the future, is it actually changes the scope of n. So n is actually not available outside of the if statement. I'm just going to go and show you the error that it will give me. If I try to use it, it'll yell at me here and say, hey, n is undefined. We'll talk about that more later when we go over variable scoping. But it's nice to use so that you can keep this variable only inside your if statement if you don't want it to bleed out. So we'll go ahead and run this, and it evaluates to true. 10 is even. So you do a modulus of 2, or 10 mod 2 is equal to 0. We could change this and do an 11. This would not run. So there you have it. That is the basic rundown of the if statement. If statements are extremely important, and they can be very confusing. Even though I've been in the field for a pretty good while, I still get confused with complex conditionals, because I mean they can get pretty big, and sometimes those ors and ands and greater thans and less thans can get confusing. So definitely take this slow and practice as much as you can with them. Really get comfortable with being able to read a conditional and know whether it's going to be true or false. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you again.